What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. This is the TART live show, and I am your host, Oz. This is Ben G. Next to me, co-host. What's going on, Ben G?
Hey, what's up, Oz? I took notes while you were rapping there over the intro, and I got my paper and I got my pen. Classes in session. I'm ready to learn something.
Well, I'm glad you listened. So that shows that Ben's a teacher by trade, so you're doing what you teach. That's awesome. So what did you think about last night's episode?
Dude, last night's episode was awesome. We were on with Colton, who I met through TikTok, and Colton is a Catholic. And we opened up the show with some street epistemology. We got through some questions, and then you had an opportunity to go down a similar line. And man, I really appreciate the way that you bring your own experiences into those conversations. I felt like maybe he could connect with that a little bit. And afterwards, we're starting to realize. I mean, I could tell he's thinking a little bit more about the questions that we gave him. And as a young man, I mean, it's exciting to see somebody critically examine their own beliefs. So he's off to a good start.
Yeah. Colton was a great guest, and he's one that I look forward to talking to more in the future. And normally, right now, we would plug the website and go through all that. But I just want to plug a couple things. We have a big weekend coming up ahead of us as far as the schedule. So if you go to tart.live, you can check out the schedule there, merch, updated YouTube content, that kind of thing. But we do have two of the roundtable members that do have birthdays this coming week. I won't announce who they are. I'll let you guys figure those things out. But the one I'm going to self-plug shamelessly. Maybe I should or shouldn't as a host. But one of the kind of the mile marks for myself personally on the 18th, this coming Friday, I will be joining Objectively Dan on Truth Wanted, and I'm pumped, man. I'm excited. It's one of those things, kind of a mile marker, and I'm going to be promoting TART and the Atheist Roundtable and you guys as much as I can on there. So I'm super excited. So if you have time, Friday, I think it's 8:00 Central Time, and then 9:00 our time, Eastern Time. We'll be live there. So if you want to join us, you are more than welcome to come and hang out with us. But without further ado, since we're getting a late start, I want to make sure we get to our guest of the evening. And we have a special guest with us tonight. Pastor Taylor is joining us tonight. Pastor Taylor, how are you tonight, man?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm chilling, man. I'm good. So how was your week?
It was so. Bit smoky.
Getting smoky.
Oh. Are you in California?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool. And everybody, your family, the people you care about, everybody safe?
Yeah.
Cool. And that's what matters. So before we go into, we kind of have a couple different segments we roll into, Taylor, just so you know. Before we do that, if you would, for us and our listeners, please share with us, what is your current religious or worldview? And then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I believe that the Bible is both verbally and plenary the Word of God. And yeah, I'm a modalist. I believe that God is one, not three different people at the same time, like split. And yeah, so I believe in God.
Okay, so Bible-believing Christian, but you don't subscribe to the 3 in 1?
No, I don't think he's three different people.
Okay, all right, cool. So the way we break it down is we kind of just go through a few questions per member of TART, and really it's just a gradual conversation. We love to have fun. You don't ask some of the tough conversations, but just really have a dialogue and chop it up. So first on the list, Ben G, we call him the Bruce Lee of SE, if I can get that out right. But Ben's a great guy. You guys are gonna have a great conversation. But Ben G, this is Pastor Taylor. Y'all can chop it up for a minute.
All right. Hey, Taylor.
What's going on?
And it's good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
Awesome. Well, I do. I practice this thing. Have you ever heard of street epistemology?
Yes. In fact,
Awesome.
I have.
What do you like? What do you know about it? What are your opinions about it? Or
Well, I've read Phaedo. You familiar with that?
no?
Phaedo. It's basically Platonism. So Plato draws dialogues,
Hmm.
right? He writes dialogue, and that's based. Street epistemology is based on the philosophy of Socrates. He didn't believe he knew anything. He based his knowledge on personal interactions with people instead of mainstream dogmas, if you will, or propaganda is what he called it.
Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with Plato's works and like the Apology and the Crito. So I've read a little bit of that actually very recently. But typically, what I do is I attempt to go through kind of a similar dialogue. So my job right now isn't to push back on your beliefs or offer any kind of criticism or evidence or anything like that. It's just to kind of get to the root of why you believe what you believe. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So the claim that I'd like to talk about is the belief in God. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What reasons do you have to believe in God, or that raise your confidence level that God exists?
Well, say that this vape pen had an author, right? Somebody authored this thing to come into existence. Right? Do we agree that this had an author?
What do you mean by author?
That somebody wanted this to be a vape pen.
That
An
somebody
author.
made, that somebody created the vape pen. Okay, yeah.
So its utility is authored. Somebody wanted that, and now we have it.
Okay.
So like my use, right? I'm here to, like, eat, fucking die. Those are the three things that I have, and all this other stuff I can do. But somebody definitely authored me to eat, fucking die, in my opinion. So I can get through life without vaping or drinking beer. I can get through life on the basic minimum, but I'm still gonna want those eat, fucking die.
Okay. How did you come to the conclusion that somebody authored you to eat, fucking die?
Well, that's based on, I've never observed something that did not eat, fucking die.
Okay. So you've never observed something that wasn't authored.
Correct.
Okay. If you had observed something that came into existence that had not, that was not authored, like for instance, if I looked at a rock and I said this rock was not authored to eat, fucking die, what would you say to me then? Or is the rock also authored?
Does the rock have a purpose like I do to eat, fucking die, or is the rock just there brutally, like a brute fact? The rock.
I guess I'm trying to understand the connection between everything you observing having an author and why other things don't have an author. Or are you saying that everything has an author?
Yeah, I believe that a rock was authored by the mountain that it broke off of.
Okay.
Because I'd go, wait a minute, this rock looks like it was attached to that mountain at some point off in the distance, and something must have.
Okay. Can you connect that? I guess maybe I don't understand what a god is. Maybe could you tell me a little? Can we explore a little bit what you think God is?
I think God is the author of everything.
Okay. So God is the. Is it a conscious being?
Yeah, he's anthropomorphic. So, yeah, I'm assuming he's conscious of what he's doing.
Okay. So God is the anthropomorphic mind which authored existence.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you come to the conclusion that an anthropomorphic mind authored existence?
Well, my God, or just a God in general.
Well, I'm wondering what it was that convinced you that there was an anthropomorphic mind, for instance.
Well, in that case, yes, I've never seen anything that hasn't been authored for a purpose. Like, if like an alien from outer space came, that would might convince me that, hey, that fucker's not here. He's here on his own. Right? He wandered off somewhere and showed up here. I've never seen anything like that. I've seen everything serving its purpose in creation, if you will. Like, I gave you my purpose, the bare essentials: eat, fucking die.
Mm-hmm.
That's what if I saw like something that was extra, then that might convince me that, well, maybe it's like the nihilists say, it's just meaningless.
Hmm. If I'm going to ask real quick, just another kind of clarifying question. What is your confidence level if I had like a 1%, like being that I have nothing but doubt that God exists, or that an anthropomorphic mind, which authored the universe, exists? And if I was at 100, I would be 100% certain. I know this for a fact. Could not be disputed. Where would you put yourself on that scale?
I'd say I'm about 50%.
Okay. So would you say that you're not certain that God exists?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it is that gets you up to 50% that God exists?
Well, I believe I'm in this interview with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that my mind and your mind exist in a reality separate of each other. Right? But I don't know that. I'm not certain. I could be a solipsist or a solipsist.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be imagining this, I could be imagining that. And then, right, I have that, at that point I have to conclude, therefore, I think, therefore I am. But I don't know that for certain. I know existence is in my mind. Right? That's as much as I can tell you. I don't know whether anything else is real, whether the God of the Bible is real, whether my experiences with the God of the Bible are real, whether I'm real,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not just like a brain in a vat. Like, you ever heard that argument? The brain in the vat, yeah, I don't know if I'm a brain in a vat in some lab and shit. So that's where my 50-50 is. Like, I'm assuming that I'm here, I'm conscious, I am who I think I am, and like, that's my certainty with the God of the Bible. I'm 50% convinced that this is the God in my life, and it's all based on my presupposition that I am not crazy on Shutter Island rocking back and forth or a brain in the vat.
Okay. And so what is it then that helps build that 50% of confidence? Because 50%, that's still some people would consider that still pretty high. What kind of reasons do you have which build up that 50% or that get you there?
Well, I think therefore I am. So what raises my probability is that if there is, like, I exist, whether I exist or not, existence is based on what I think. So I would have to exist at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my 50. At the very least, I exist, or what I think.
So yeah, if you're at 50% that you exist, is that 50% that you exist the same thing as the 50% confidence level that you have that God exists?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to understand what's the connection between understanding that you exist and the confidence that God exists. What's the connection there?
Well, in order for my God to exist, I'm certain that I have to exist.
Hmm. So if you're 50% that you exist, how are you certain? What does certainty mean?
Certainty would be like 100%
Mm-hmm.
to me. Because like I said, like, I'm 50% I exist.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that 50% chance that you could hit the button and go, you're wrong. I'm the one who existed. You get what I'm saying? And then you could you could hit that button and I'll wake up and I created you. Your existence is dependent on me and this control board.
I guess I'm trying to understand how are you certain that you exist if you're saying that you're 50% that you exist?
Yeah, I'm not certain of anything.
Okay. So how did a moment ago did you say that you were certain that you existed?
No, I'm about 50% sure
Okay.
that I exist.
Okay. And then are you then therefore like 50% that God exists? So is it because you are 50% certain that you exist that you're 50% certain that God exists?
Yes.
Let me ask this. If I had like a jar of candy and like a jar right here, and I don't have an example next to me, but like maybe a box of or a bag of M&Ms, and it was closed and we had no way to count it. Would you say that you could claim that it was even? And would you be 50% certain that
Yeah.
it was even? Okay.
And even less, because like that's on the premise the 50% that I actually exist,
Mm,
and that candy actually exists.
okay.
So it gets less from there.
Okay.
But yeah, like if like we presuppose that we're 100% sure we exist, and you give me a right, we debate whether the gumball jar has 50-50, right? It's still a 50-50.
Okay. So is God synonymous with the idea that you exist, or does
Yeah.
so if with M&Ms, for instance, you have to actually lower the confidence, would you say that it's the same for the for God if that's an extra belief that's after?
Yeah.
Okay, so what percentage would you put that you believe God exists?
Well, I'm still 50 on God,
Okay, how
but
so?
I get what you're saying. Like to debate God's existence would be lower. But me, yeah, I'm 50% on God because I'm 50%. I exist, and everything involved in my existence is with that 50%. Like, well, how did you exist, right? Well, my parents gave birth to me, and so where's the root of your parents, right? What root, what origin does your right offspring after offspring come from, and what generated your existence? Where's the generator of all existence? So that leads to my 50% certainty of God. Or it's sure, I'm right. If we say certain, then that means you can't be 50% certain. So I'm
Right.
50% sure.
Okay. So is it fair to say that you believe God exists if you're
Yeah.
actually if I'm trying to understand if you're halfway would you say that you're 50% sure that God doesn't exist? Would you say that
Yeah.
if you have 50% doubt?
Yeah, I'm 50% unsure that God exists.
Okay. And I guess I'm trying to understand is that enough confidence to put yourself at the level of like a Christian, or how did you then determine that okay, God exists? Now which God is that?
Oh, the biblical God.
Right. How did you get to the
You want
idea?
my certainty of the biblical God? The
So
reason,
do you think all of the different gods are 50% possible?
no, I
Okay.
don't believe I'm with my 50% certainty in God. I'm like 100% certain that the other gods don't exist.
Oh, okay. So within that 50, you're 100% certain.
That the other right in the 50% chance I'm wrong, it's even less because I could there could be no God in that 50%.
All right. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for talking with me. I know we got Oz on the screen, and I think he's about to take a little bit over here. How's it going, Oz?
What's up, man? Thanks, Ben. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Ben, Pastor Taylor, after that, how you guys feeling?
Feeling good.
Good. And Pastor Taylor, what you sipping on, brother?
PBR
Oh, PBR, a classic. No
water.
classic.
This is 50% water.
An old classic. Cool. Pastor Taylor, one of the things that stood out to me is you kept talking about I think, therefore I am. Can you define that for me? What does that mean to you?
Well, that I'm in a native, of course, and that's a famous statement you probably know. but it's based on, right, the general theism. Like, if I think, therefore I am, meaning that if I do exist, right, I think I exist. And if I weigh that to, well, if I don't exist, how am I thinking I exist? Right? If I don't exist, my thoughts on existence are what existence is, regardless. But then again, Ben could be, right, like I said, have me a brain in a vat that he made, like Frankenstein, typing everything I'm about to say in a computer. That all those possibilities in the other 50 cents.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. And I'm the type, I try to be as intellectually honest as possible, Pastor Taylor. And this is an area that I know somebody, that is a friend of mine, a friend of ours, and knows much more about the I think, therefore I am, is much more equipped to have that conversation. And I'm going to bring my friend on, and that way we can have that conversation.
It's TJUMP.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
All right. So you said I agree. I think therefore I am. That's true. I don't think it's 50%. I think it's 100%. But I think therefore I am doesn't seem to say anything about a God, does it? Like, because I can exist without a God.
Yeah. But
So,
how?
How? For example, if there's no God and there's just nature and we're a product of evolution, I still exist. So I'm existing.
What generated nature?
What is nature?
No, what generated nature?
Nothing. It exists eternally.
So an eternal nature.
Yep.
So nature all by itself.
Yep.
All right, I'd like to know more about that. So that's this is in my other 50% where I don't. So nature just happens by itself.
It doesn't happen. It's just always been there. Kind of like, how Christians think God has always been there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
Right. So we can just say it's not God. It's just nature has always been there. There's no mind to it. It's just nature.
So nature just exists in uniform, right? Or is it not uniform?
I don't know what you mean by uniform. Like, is God uniform?
Yeah.
Then yeah, I'd say nature is uniform.
So when, like, let's say, like, I take this and I drop it there and it always falls. Can nature ever change that?
Yes.
Like, has nature ever changed that?
In the beginning of the universe, during early Guth inflation, gravity was repulsive, not attractive. So we know that gravity actually caused things to go up, not down.
All right. Now, is that verifiable
Yes.
through a study of the natural world, which via science?
Yes, it was confirmed through testable predictions seen in the cosmic microwave background.
So it's been verified through calculations of
Observation. So it made calculations and then it made predictions. If these calculations are true, we can do this experiment and see this result. And then we did the experiment, we saw the result.
So you saw gravity working in reverse polarity.
No, we saw the effects of gravity working in reverse polarity. So like if I had a prediction that a horse ran across a field, I would be able to say, well, if the horse ran across the field, I'll see footprints on the field. And if I go and see the footprints and I'm like, oh, then yeah, I conclude the horse ran across the field. Even if I didn't see the horse, all I need to see is the footprints because I can predict the consequence of the effect.
So are you 50% like me that this is true, or 100% certain that this is true?
98 point something.
See, I'm 50%, and I'm 100% that it's 50% because either one of us is right and one of us is wrong, correct?
Sure.
So I'm 100% that this is a 50-50.
Right. So that's called a dogmatic, just possibility chance. If there's a coin, it's either heads or tails. That's 50-50.
Correct.
But there's other possibilities. We could both be wrong. So if we're both wrong, that means there's 33%. Either I'm right, you're right, or we're both wrong. And if there could be like Oz could be right. So then there's 4 possibilities. Like we're all wrong. Oz is right, I'm right, you're right. And then Pasta could be right. So there's a lot more than 50-50 chance here. In fact, there's infinitely many. Like the Hindus could be right. Go ahead.
In the God, not God.
Oh no, God, not God is definitely 50-50, but
Yeah.
there's alternate possibilities. Like there could
That's
be.
what I was talking about. Like you were telling me, nature just existed, right? And I
Right.
agree. My God just exists. He's a brute fact.
Okay.
And then right, I said 50%. Right, if there's a God, he's eternal, just like your nature was, and he can do things like that. He can make my pen stop from falling. He can do all this. I was 50% certain that I was right.
Well, it's
But
50% of any
50%
God
wrong.
or no God. But if your God is actually infinitely small percent. So if there's any God versus no God, that's a 50-50. Like if there's any universe versus no universe, that's a 50-50. Or if there's any Tom Jump and no Tom Jump, that's a 50-50. So, but if there's a particular God, your God versus not your God, there's infinitely many possible gods there could be there, or alternatives to a God. There could be something above a God. So you can have your God and then something that created it. So there's infinitely many possibilities there. It's not just 50-50. It would only be 50-50 if you said either my God exists or my God does not exist. That's like a 50-50.
Well, I'm 50% sure my God exists. The other 50% says no God exists, right? But
No. So that it's
I'm
50-50 would be my God exists or my God does not exist. Or a God exists or no God exists. But a God could be any God: Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism, Jainism, any God or no God. But if you want 50-50 in your case, it's either your God or no, or not your
yeah.
God.
That's my 50. It's God, my God, or no God, atheism.
Well, that's not a
Violence.
50-50. So a 50-50 would be any God or no God, or it would be your God and not your God.
I haven't heard anything convincing about any other gods. I've heard many, long, mentally straining explanations for a different God, but I've never heard of a God that just authored humanity by itself, like on its own initiative. I've heard like Allah, he created the world just so he could boss it around and this and that. The God of the Bible doesn't give an explanation. And I'm sure you agree that the creation, right? The universe doesn't have an explanation to it.
It's a brute fact. Do you know what
Yeah,
brute facts are?
yes, it's something that's just there. It's not. It doesn't need to be explained.
Right. So you say God is a brute fact, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't have a purpose.
Well, for his creation, right? He doesn't have a purpose for being there himself.
So you
That's what
do
I'm saying.
know. So you do know of something that doesn't have a purpose.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's just God. It's the only thing. It's the author. The author never tells us why he writes. What's that called? The 50 Shades of Grey. He don't tell us why he wrote that.
Okay. So if the God doesn't have a purpose, then why do you think anything he does has a purpose? Wouldn't it also not have a purpose?
Well, that's where the regress comes from. There's always he creates everything for no purpose, but then he starts to explain these purposes that they have. Right? Separate the water from waters and the fowls of the air and the beasts, and he tells them this is for I created this for these people to go out and have dominion over it, and I'm gonna put them in the garden, and I'm gonna make them up, and he gives you the reason. He just doesn't give you a reason for why and who did all this.
So
And for
God
what?
makes up the purpose.
Yeah, pretty much.
How is
He's
that
just
different
there.
from me making up the purpose?
It's not.
So I have a purpose if I make one up.
What do you mean?
So if
I
God's
understand.
making up the purpose and that's not different from me making up the purpose, well, then I can say that if there's no God, I can still have purpose because I can just make up my own purpose.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you author whatever you want, like if you want to write a novel right now, you can put anything in there and it would be perfectly fine.
I mean, can I make a purpose for myself?
Yes. Now as a like on a level where you're writing a book or something, creating something, or you're just here with me in this interview.
I mean, like, can I make a purpose for my life, my existence?
Yeah, you could, but it would be arguable. Like I had this conversation with someone the other night. Like your purpose is based on like a million people meeting and fucking.
I don't think so. I think my purpose is to have fun.
All right, but your purpose required a million people to meet at a very specific point in time and fuck.
Not necessarily, no. The guy could have created me 5 seconds ago. Like, it doesn't require
Yeah,
that.
there you go.
So it doesn't require a purpose like that, no.
So yeah, we're 50-50 again.
No. So 50-50 again is either your God or not your God, because it has to be P or not P, the exact opposite. So something exists or that thing does not exist.
Well, if we exist in the same reality, it's a fact that all these people had to meet in order to get you here, just so
No.
you could go. I have a purpose, like entitlement, or I'm wrong and you're right that you were created 5 seconds ago and made your own purpose up, and it was a world according to you, and it has nothing to do with what I think or anyone else does.
Right, but that's only one of the possibilities. Like, instead of those million people, it could have been a different million people that could have also led to exactly me. Or it could have just been different people and having the correct mutations that led to me. So it's not a requirement that everything happened as it did to get me. There's lots of different ways to get me. It's not 50-50.
So what about my assertion that the reality exists as we know it?
Yeah, I agree reality exists.
All right, so that's what I'm saying. That's the 50%. Is that reality? We're in the same reality together. And then the other half being, no, we're not. Anything's possible outside of reality.
I don't think that's a 50-50. So anything's possible means there's infinitely many things that could happen, which means it can't be 50-50. You could say the way we perceive reality is correct or not correct. That could be 50-50.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Is that either I'm right, a million people had to meet to fuck to get us just one you, millions of people, right? Your grandparents, great grandparents. If you trace your family tree back to the Middle Ages, you got a lot of people.
Right.
So we're going back further than that. They had to meet and fuck, and then you came here entitled like I'm gonna create my own purpose, or I'm wrong.
So I'm not following here. So I'm asking, if God created the universe, that's still true. So that doesn't seem to be any difference.
Yeah, if God created the universe, right, then all those people met, and there's a reason for all those people meeting for you to be here to tell me in this interview.
Sure, but why
But if
can't
I'm
I just
wrong, there's no reason, and there could be a reason, but we don't know. There could be anything.
why can't I make up a reason why all those people met? What's the difference?
There isn't. You can make up a reason if you want to.
So is my reason equally as good as God's reason?
Yeah, because God, he doesn't put a reason or anything. His reason is basically dependent on what we think. Like he
Okay.
doesn't declare a reason for why he did all this.
Okay, so do you think God is good, moral?
Actually, no. I think that's question's loaded because good and moral is based on what I think about what he's doing. But by default, I would say he has to be moral.
Okay,
Whether
do you
he
think it's moral that he killed millions of people?
no,
So he's not moral.
no, I didn't say he's not moral. I just don't think he's moral. But when he like me accepting the proposition that God exists, whether he could tell me to go kill people, and I go kill people, and then midway through he could say killing people's wrong, and I have to assume that since he's God, everything he says moral, whether it contradict, whether Who knows?
So you said you've read Plato. Do you know what the Euthyphro dilemma is?
No.
Okay, the Euthyphro dilemma is that either something is good because God says it's good, or God is saying it's good because it's good based on some independent reason. So, like, for example, if I said, what is 3 feet? And I pick up this stick and say, this stick, back scratcher, is 3 feet. Well, is it 3 feet because I just said so and I could have just picked anything I wanted to? In which case, well, it's not actually 3 feet. It's just something I made up. Or is it 3 feet based off of an independent objective standard, like we can objectively measure it based off of a ruler or whatever? So if what God says is good only because he says it, well, then there's no such thing as good. It's just a made up concept. If there is such a thing
Yeah.
as good and moral, then it has to be good independent of God.
No, I say everything, right? He's the author of creation, so everything he says is good. Whether we find it right, it could be bad, and he could say it's bad 10 minutes beforehand, but he authored that to be bad in the first place. So he doesn't have a choice in the matter. Whatever he says, right, to our objection is going to be good. Like if he tells us, if for say he says, go kill babies, and I don't, I'm bad. For instance, right? Because I didn't obey. Like when you know, in the creation myth, right, or the creation narrative, he states that he saw everything good. Like he created the earth, he saw that it was good, right? And that's because it obeyed him. It was exactly as he.
Okay. So do you have any evidence that God exists? So if we start with, I think therefore I am, maybe God exists, maybe God doesn't exist, 50-50. What leads you to the conclusion God does exist? Why should we believe that?
Well, me, I have a relationship to this God. So, like I said, his existence is dependent on me.
What? Like, can't he exist without you?
Well, he could, but then my existence would be in question.
So why do you, so you think God exists because you have a relationship? Why do you think that relationship is real and not just imaginary?
Why? Because I presuppose that I'm sane and I'm here talking to you, and
You can be sane and still have a delusion. Like most people have illusions and delusions and they're perfectly sane. So that doesn't seem to make sense.
people have delusions and they're perfectly sane.
Yes.
So, is it a normal case to have a delusion?
Yes. We know the brain has lots of delusions. Like having the wrong kinds of chemical imbalance in your body can cause a delusion, even though you're perfectly sane. We know that you can have a dream and you remember it as being conscious. That's a delusion. We know that when people observe events, the way they recall them is incorrect, and they recall things incorrectly and have delusions. We know that people see different refractions of light and interpret them in different ways and have delusions. Delusions are not, your brain isn't functioning, you're not sane. It's just an error in the way all brains do function.
Do you think that delusion is a natural? Like, say I was a monkey in the trees, and I fell down, and there was lions there to get me, and I had this delusion that I could survive this dilemma by fighting these lions, even though my chance to survive was 1%.
What no, so that would be a delusion that doesn't help you, but there are delusions that do help you. For example, if you hear a rustle in the bushes and you see, I think it's a lion, even if it's just the wind, that's a delusion, but you would run away and survive. Whereas if somebody said, I think it's the wind, when it's a lion, they would die. So the people who thought it was a lion but it wasn't would survive, but the people who thought it was the wind but it wasn't would die. So there are kinds of delusions that would actually make you more likely to survive.
Yeah, and so delusion helps the mind survive.
In some cases, yes.
So delusion has a purpose.
No, delusion is just a cognitive result of reality. So just like random chance. Helping us to survive isn't a purpose, it's just a consequence.
So delusion doesn't have a purpose.
No, it's just a result of how the brain works. Like a glitch in a computer game. Glitches don't have purposes.
So when the glitch in the brain caused the delusion,
Yep.
so wouldn't that be a purpose?
No. It's like if you program a video game and there's a glitch in it, you didn't program the glitch, it was just an accident.
Isn't it the result of, maybe bad workmanship or
Not always, no.
miscalculation?
No, not
So
glitches.
it's just there as a brute fact.
Essentially, yeah, it's just something that happens that we just didn't expect.
It's not the result of any miscalculation or
No, not all glitches work that way. Like there's many different glitches in games that happen just because it wasn't something we knew that was going to happen that we just discovered later.
so if there's no explanation for glitches in video games.
The explanation is that the programming code caused a certain kind of relation that we didn't intend.
So there is an explanation, but it's an oversight on the deal of the programmer.
Explanation isn't the same as purpose. So I can explain that a rock falls because of gravity. That's not a purpose.
Wait, my bad. I kind of zoned out.
Oh, no problem. So an explanation isn't the same thing as a purpose. Like I can explain how the dominoes are falling if they're just falling because of gravity. That's not a purpose. They're not like meant to fall because of gravity. That's just how gravity works.
So it's just how gravity works. It just doesn't have a reason for working.
Alcohol. Is that alcoholic?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that was the easiest way to get a beer is tell my son to go get it.
Good son. You've trained him well.
Yeah.
So explanation isn't the same thing as purpose. You can have an explanation and not have a purpose.
Yeah. I just don't understand. But I'm not saying you're wrong. But again,
Okay.
I'm just not following this back to the.
So you said there's evidence of a God because you have a relationship with him.
Yeah, I perceive him to exist. Like in my own, like I've
Right.
had him come fuck with me before, and that's the right. I've tried to get away. Even I'm like, man, I'm sick of arguing. Right,
Right.
and I think some of the like some of the apologists out here. I'm not an apologist, and I don't like apologetics. I don't think I need to apologize or make a God rational. I want it to be a brute fact, and I think it is that someone created. But then, I said, no, I'm done with this. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And I had that God come fuck with me again. So I believe that's real.
How do you know it was God and not just reality?
It could be real. That's the other 50%.
So why do you believe it's God if you could be reality?
Well, I've perceived it as God. And that's the 50. Like I said, 50-50. I've 50%. I've been told it's God. He told me which God. He said, don't you see me? And like, don't you see? I gave these atheists, right? They don't understand what you're saying. They don't know what you're talking about. And you can talk to them about anything, sports, right? Have blue ribbon. You can talk to them anything, but the second you bring God into the equation, they become like they speak in Chinese. Haven't you seen what I've done in creation? And I agree, yes, I have. But then there's that 50% that I'm just batshit crazy, and I don't know what's right. I don't even know whether I'm here or not.
Okay. So again, the reason you think God is real is because you've had a personal experience with him.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a delusion or an illusion or hallucination?
No. Well, not certain. I'm 50% sure I have not.
Okay. Have you ever had a dream?
Yes, I've had dreams before.
So couldn't your experience been a dream and not real?
Yeah, I could be in a dream right now.
So if your experience of God could be a dream, doesn't that mean there's a reason to think it might not be a God?
Yeah, there's 50% chance that there's no God, that there's nihilism, right? Which is logical to me.
Well,
And
I believe in moral realism, even though I'm an atheist, so you don't need nihilism. But my question is, so there's a chance there's a God, there's a chance there's no God. And the reason you think it's a God is because of your experience. But your experience could be real or it could also be a delusion. And we know that lots of people have delusions. They're pretty common. So they're over 50%. They're more likely to happen. Like we don't have any real evidence of a God that's over 50%, but we have lots of evidence of a God that's under 50%. So we know that people have personal experiences of aliens and unicorns and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster. And we know that that is always usually false. That's under 50%. And we know science is reliable testable predictions all the time, that's over 50%. So we have good reasons to believe there isn't a God, and we have very bad reasons to believe there is a God. So shouldn't you say that it's more than 50% there isn't a God?
Well, I don't have what's the reason, a bad reason to believe there's a God?
Yeah. So like if I flipped a coin and the coin landed heads, I'll say, oh, well, this is a reason to believe in God. Clearly that's not a good reason to believe in God, right? That's a
That's not
bad
what I
reason.
believe.
What?
I don't believe it's a flip of a coin.
Oh, no,
Like,
that's not what I'm saying. Like if I just shook a magic 8-ball and it said God exists, like that would be a bad reason to believe in a God.
Oh yeah, of course.
So there
I
are,
would
that
agree
would
with
be,
you.
and why is that a bad reason?
I wouldn't believe in that God.
Right.
I would.
I'm not saying you would.
What is the factors of this? Like,
It's like a
we sh-
dice. It's like a rolling a dice. It's just an upside down dice.
because, like, for instance, if we were to roll a dice whether God exists, and I'd say if it lands on 6, there's a God, and it lands on 6, and then I roll it again, I go, okay, there isn't a God if it lands on 4, and then we roll the dice and it lands on 4. I know that it's really me just saying whatever the fuck I want, rolling the dice.
Right. So there's no connection between that thing because it's just random, right?
Yeah, and it's not, it's me creating, right?
Yep.
These propositions, whether,
So how is that different from your experience? How is your experience different from the dice?
because I didn't roll, right? I didn't call God on the phone and say, "Hey, can you come to my house and fuck with me?" He came on his own initiative, and that's. I even didn't want nothing to do with it. I'm like, I said the same thing. Like, I'm tired of being in these conversations. I just want to, do something else. And the God of the Bible said, no. I'm coming to you. You don't get away. You've already been purchased. Like, I'm a slave, for instance. The God of the Bible.
Okay, so like if someone else rolled a dice and they didn't know about you and you said it was going to roll a 6 and it did, that would also be a bad reason to believe in
Yeah,
God, right?
I agree with you.
So even if you didn't do the action and someone else did the action, like maybe your experience again might not have been a God, it might just have been something in nature, like delusion or hallucination. Like we know those happen in the brain pretty often. So wouldn't that be like the dice if it was you just be trusting in the dice if it was like a delusion
yeah.
or hallucination?
If we got two choices, I say yes. Because I could be delusional. You're right. That's the other option. To me, I'm not delusional. I'm not insane. I'm not any of this, and this stuff really happened to me. It either did or it didn't.
Sure.
And that's what I could hear with my ears, and so it's with the senses, if you will. Like I'm sure you accept things by the senses, but are you 100% certain that everything's actually happening?
No, only about 99.
So you have a stronger belief in reality than I do.
Yep. Because I start with 100%. So I start with I think, therefore I am, and that's 100%. There's no way that I could be thinking and not exist. That's impossible. So I have to start with 100%, not 50%.
So you start at 100. You're 100% certain, and then you kick down a notch. Well, maybe I'm accidentally right, or maybe this isn't real, and so you're 90% sure that, or 99% sure that you exist.
No, I'm 100% sure I exist. 99% sure science is right.
So how do you determine whether you exist or not?
I think, therefore I am. I have conscious quality experience, and it's possible for me to have experience and not exist.
Now, do you think that you are in control, or maybe that got you a brain in the vat at a control board telling you what to think?
Well, even if I'm a brain in a vat and you're telling me what to think, I still exist. So the fact that I have thoughts, even if you're controlling them, means I still exist. So I still have to exist 100%.
What if your existence isn't existence at all? It's just me, and I've made this computer brain thingy in a vat
Then how am I thinking?
because I'm punching in numbers in a computer
Well,
on a
remember,
control board. Like,
so if I am thinking, that means that I have to be the one doing the thinking. No, maybe you're controlling it, but I'm still experiencing the thinking. So if I don't have that experience of thought, well, then obviously I can't say I think, therefore I am. But because I have that experience of thought, necessarily something has to be there to do the thinking, even if you're controlling it, or even if it's a brain in the vat, or even if it's a simulation, there has to be something there doing the thinking. And that something is me, whether it's a brain or a simulation or a delusion, that thing has to be thinking.
Do you know for certain that it's not me,
Nope.
the brain in the vat, with someone else controlling me that's controlling you on the keyboard?
Well, as long as I'm thinking, I still have to exist. So even if I'm a figment of your imagination and I experience thought, well, then I still necessarily exist. So I still exist with 100% certainty.
Do you know that it's not me thinking for you?
Yes, because I'm the one experiencing it. Since I experience it, I know I have to be there to exist.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey.
TJUMP, thanks for coming on and having a discussion tonight. Pastor Taylor, we'll keep you on here, but Jump, thank you, my man. Appreciate the conversation. As always, been a value, and you're the man.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
So the next thing we'll do in Pastor James, I'm sorry, Pastor Taylor. I don't know how many of our episodes that you have caught in the past, but the next segment we do a little Q&A before we wrap it up, and we have a certain character involved that likes to bring about the Q's and the A's, and we'll bring him on. Mr. Murder Steve should be in the building.
So I'm about to go meet up with TJUMP for dinner. We're gonna chop it up. Well, hey everybody. I'm hanging out here with TJUMP just to verify that he's still alive. Got to make sure to do that. And we're about to say a little prayer to our Lord and Savior, the Pastafarian God. He boiled for your sins. As you can see, I have my bowl of ramen here. In his name, ramen. So hungry, I'm sure. Oh. Well, hey, how's it going, everybody? So, I recently found out that it takes about 45 minutes for a school of piranha to completely devour an adult human of average size. Hey, Oz, did you know about that? Have you ever heard this before?
No, you just learned me a lesson. You just learned me a lesson.
On an unrelated note, I recently lost my job at the aquarium. How's it going, everybody?
Oh my God.
Welcome to the show. How's it going, Taylor?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Good. Fantastic. Well, I got to say, it's been a pleasure listening to you talk to Ben and of course TJUMP, and we appreciate you, TJUMP, for hopping on. I suppose we can get right to questions if you guys are feeling that. Oz, get your shit together. Somebody mute him. We're gonna have to do a deep dive.
Hold on. We got to make sure the pastor, the reverend, can collect his bearings there, because he was laughing.
Okay, I'll give it a minute. Hey, Pasta, you mind throwing that one back up? Oh, the God of hangovers is in the shit.
Hold on. I think the pastor caught the spirit. Hold on.
Oh, good.
He's good.
We all good? Are we ready?
We can roll. Yeah, we can roll.
All right. So the first one I have is from Velocilobster. So you believe that a God is moral, or is morality, but you don't agree that God is moral, in your opinion.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. I think he just wanted a little clarification. He's a little dense. Good guy, but you know. Let's see here. Gosh golly, gee whiz. These things just keep disappearing on me. Anyway.
You know what it is. The whole time he's trying to find a question. All he can think about is having that skeleton behind him and what he's going to do with the skeleton.
Well, I skipped dinner again, and that bone marrow is just so delicious. You know, there certainly isn't. I mean, it's just so rich and thick. You know,
and I always know when Steve actually just got done doing the job, because some nights he comes in just with the earplugs, but then when he comes in with the canned headphones, I know he just got done sawing a body off right before he went on screen. So,
well, life is a crazy thing, and the last thing that I need to do is damage my hearing, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, why would we want to worry about that? So I got a question from Twice Baked. Why do you believe and live by 150% rather than the other?
Well, I live by the 50% because there's no problem living by the 50%. The other 50%, I would probably be committed to an insane asylum.
Oh, you mean the one where you are like a brain in a vat type thing?
Well, there's that, and then I go to the store, someone say 550, and I'm like, but this number doesn't exist. Or I just have deep thoughts of philosophy all the time.
is that like a deep dive?
Yeah, like there's all kinds of things. Like if I go to work, but why do I go to work? I'm just living to survive an inevitable death.
Ooh, I think
there's nothing.
Question. I think those are great questions.
Yeah.
So, like, what's wrong with having those questions? I guess would be like a follow-up I would have. Did you hear that, Taylor?
What?
I
was asking what's wrong. What in your view is wrong with having those questions? Because I think
there's nothing wrong with them. But if I were to live my life by the other 50% that I might not exist, or I might this and I might that and I might this, then right, it would be hard to survive.
Okay.
Like, why am I even surviving this thing? I'm supposed to die anyway. Why would I want to survive this?
All right. Yeah, I think I understand your point of view a little bit better. Thank you.
So Sonny Secular here is wondering if you're agnostic or why you don't identify as agnostic.
Because an agnostic says there's no proof either or. I think there's an inevitable truth, regardless. Where it is or is not. I don't believe there's no proof for is or is not. I think that's the definition of agnostic, is someone that believes there's no proof for or against.
It might be a little bit different than that. Agnostic is like you could be an agnostic theist and believe that a God exists, but have no idea what God that is, or it could be the Christian God, it could be Vishnu, whatever, but you have no idea and you don't make a claim.
Right. For example, Pastor Taylor, like I am agnostic atheist to most gods, but the Bible God, I'm pretty much an atheist. Where it's just like I don't. There's really no reason for me to believe that he exists. But the other gods, I'm open to evidence. So that's where that agnostic word is key in there. It's like we don't, we just don't have belief. We lack belief due to the lack of evidence. So it's not, because there's a difference between, as you know, you're a smart dude. There's a big difference between proof and evidence, right? We just don't have enough evidence to even suggest that the Bible God exists. So that's where, I'll just say me. I won't speak for the other two guys on screen, but for me, that's where I lie.
And I don't listen to Oz when he speaks, so I have no idea what he said. So I'm not certain if I agree with him. How about you, Ben?
No, I think about agnostic. Like I consider myself an agnostic in that I don't know, right? I can't know that God doesn't exist, but I'm an atheist because I don't believe God exists. So in my view, it's like, because I don't know, I don't believe. And that's my take on it. So you can be both agnostic and atheist, and you can be both agnostic and theist. I really don't think that the word agnostic, and maybe it was a malformed question where, we've got some people think that there's this big middle section where there's agnostic. And so I'm not entirely sure if that middle section between these two thumbs, where you've got theist, agnostic theist, agnostic atheist, and atheist, you've got to be one of those four things, in my view.
Are we just throwing up gang signs now? All right, Steve. Next question.
Yep. I got another question here. Thanks, Oz. I got another question here from Prophet of Juan. John. If you drink 50% of a PBR, do you still go to heaven?
No, fuck no. PBR is cheap. I got the shit for free for a car I worked on the other day. He gave me a 29. He took one and gave me 29.
Oh, not a bad.
You're going to hell. You'll go to hell for PBR.
You go to hell for wasting it?
Yeah, life's way too short to drink PBR. But since nostalgic purposes, yeah, I grew up on PBR. So.
And I've got a question for Oz. And then we'll wrap up Q&A. From Pasta Mike, deep dive?
It's very cryptic.
And Pasta would also like to know, can you dance, and how deep is that V?
I recently got a compliment. Somebody says that they could not dance as white as me, so that was a benefit. My vehicle does not go all that deep. It's really like it rests about 2 or 3 feet off the ground.
Well, thank you all for stopping by the Murder Shed, where answers get questioned.
Yeah.
So it's time for Q&A with Murder Shed Steve. Oh shit.
Wait. Can you provide evidence that a God exists?
All right, we're back.
What's up, y'all?
Nothing much. I'm just taking in all that I witnessed.
What Pastor Taylor, what did you just witness?
I witnessed it. I don't even really know how to describe it, but it tickled my funny bone. I wasn't expecting it. It just happened, and there's like TJUMP's missing, but he was just here.
So you had T-Bone, and then Murder Shed Steve comes along talking about murdering things, and then you talked about it tickling your funny bone. What did that feel like?
Well, yeah, I just didn't know. I didn't know how to connect all of it, so my instant reaction was humor.
and well, especially the Murder Shed Steve part is definitely to be part humor and part serious questions. But before we wrap for the night, and Taylor, you and I have had a few conversations on some of the Facebook live chats and so on and so forth. But I want to take this a little bit of a different direction to talk more about content and that kind of thing, and not just keep spinning the wheels and keep going down the road we've been tonight. So first of all, we've not given you the opportunity to do so. So I want to make sure we do it right now. Pastor Taylor, tell us about your YouTube channel. Tell us about the name, where they can find you, and what they can expect to hear on your channel.
All right, so I have a YouTube channel. It's Pastor Taylor's YouTube channel. It's got a couple of segments I did with the Atheist Experience. and it's got a couple of lives that I've done when I was preaching at the pulpit, and there's a couple of lessons in biblical Hebrew and Greek that you might enjoy. But I don't work a lot on YouTube. I'm not really the online personality, but I do enjoy these conversations.
Well, you say that, and I appreciate that, but I do see your presence a lot online, whether
Yeah.
it's Facebook or YouTube. And I know you have the Pastor Taylor channel. I think you correct me if I'm wrong. You have one that's called the sympathetic theist
Yeah,
show. Something like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the interactions more than I do the presence on YouTube. So if like what I'm saying, like with my YouTube channel, I did that on Facebook because I could interact with the people on my stream. But when it's just me by myself in front of a camera, I don't really value. I value the input of other people.
Okay, and that's cool, and we do too. But tell me about that channel, like the name of that channel, where we can find that channel, what do people need to know even about that channel?
My channel or the
Well, you have the one. We have two, I believe. One's the Pastor Taylor, and the other's the sympathetic theist YouTube. Can you tell us about that one too?
That's just a stream I do on my channel. So I do that live stream like this on StreamYard, and we have guests.
You have guests? Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about the like for us. Excuse me. So TART, the Atheist Roundtable. There's a purpose behind that name, that title. Tell us what the sympathetic theist is about. Why that title?
The sympathetic theist is just to piss Justin off. So it's like a joke that Justin didn't appreciate. So I said, well, I got to do it more now. I've got the popular demand.
Say it again.
So it's like Justin's the empathetic atheist. So I said, hey, let's do the sympathetic theist. And that's pretty much all it is. It's like a running gag.
Oh, so you're just throwing shade at Justin?
Well, yeah, like I did it once to be funny, and then like his reaction to it, I'm like, don't worry, I won't do it anymore. But then it just got to the point where like you could see it was bothering him. So we said, all right, we gotta do it some more.
So you just kept running with it.
Yeah, it's basically, and you'll see me when I do my live streams. Like I got kicked out of the Atheist Debate Central, but like I do my live streams. I said I'm a sympathetic theist and a zookeeper to atheist, and that became like zookeeper, right? The reaction, right? Like I said, I'm an interactive person. I like interaction. So when somebody says,
so were you kicked off? Were you kicked off his channel, his platform? Like what happened? Why did that come up?
No, I don't think I was kicked off. They added me back and had me on for something they needed me for, and I don't turn things down. But I was kicked off of the Atheist Debate Central because I'd said, is atheism antisocial? And the group admin said that's not debatable, and made it post approval.
Well, what I'm saying, what made you start the channel, the sympathetic theist? Like you said, it was throwing shade at Justin, but what? But
yeah,
why?
It's just basically he didn't like it when I did it. He thought it was
what made you want to do that?
It's basically because he got mad about it.
Well, he wouldn't have got mad. He wouldn't have got mad about it if something didn't pop up. Like what popped off? What popped off and made you do that?
Well, the sympathetic theist.
Yeah, like something popped off. You didn't wake up in the morning and like, oh, I'm gonna do this because it's gonna piss Justin off.
Yeah, it did.
Like something popped off.
We did it once, and I even had Justin on. Justin said, "Add me," and he started ranting about how can you be a sympathetic theist? I'm the empathetic atheist, and I thought that was suffice, like that was funny enough. But then as the course went on, people started saying, "Hey, you get a reaction out of Justin when you do that." So I finally gave in. I'm like, all right, we'll do it again, and we'll ask the questions that piss off the Atheist Debate Central, and we'll get the interactions.
Oh, okay.
Because, like
Okay,
I said, I value interactions from people. Whether they I like to talk to people about different things.
okay, cool. So you did it for the reaction, right?
Yeah, it's basically that's the whole thing. It's like a joke. Because he's the empathetic atheist, so it's funny that you have the sympathetic theist. But he doesn't find it funny, so that makes it even more funny. And then I got bugged by people to keep doing it. But
Okay.
I don't really do it. I don't really have an interest.
Okay. I just it seems that would come off to me as an antagonist. If
Well, yes.
if there was no comedy behind it between the two of you, if you and he didn't have an agreement on that, it would come off like you're being an antagonist and trying to talk shit and trying to do shit. But you correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. It's completely antagonistic. That's what makes it humorous. If we did it once and he didn't care, then eventually it would. But he did care. He did have things to say about it. So there's people like, yeah, that happens when you do that sympathetic theist. So, and it's not just him. Like when I do these lives, in the Facebook groups and stuff, and I say I'm a sympathetic theist, that there's all kinds of reactions from because not all atheists are social, right? There's a lot of people on the internet. It's like a zeitgeist. There's people that can't be on camera like you and me are right now. They have a zeitgeist. They're younger, whatever it is. But this is like a normal mode of communication for them to be on the internet and assert post. They're like thumb warriors. So when we go on and we give them what they want, they want to see something that they don't agree with, and they want to post all their opinions about it.
All right, and that's where Taylor, you and I think our differences in previous conversations lie there is in your I guess I would say your motive, like your motive, and not being to be an example, but to get a rise, and to do exactly what you just said about Justin. And it's 100% to poke the bear, get a rise, get an online reaction, which isn't really going to change anything. Would you agree or disagree?
I'd say yes to the sympathetic theist. That's 100% trying to get a rise. But I'm not necessarily the same, right? I have a dynamic personality. I like different, right? I don't like to be in shit shows all the time. I like to change, right? I like to walk in on a conversation that's going one way and then walk in on a conversation that's going another, or start a conversation. I don't care which way it goes. I just like the conversation.
Well, and I love to talk too. I have a ID personality profile, and I love to talk. I love to get to know people. But as soon as I feel like there's motives involved, I typically disengage, and I don't take part in that. So when I see that in the conversations that I've seen and heard you be part of, that's what I hear. So what I'm going to ask you is tell me why I'm wrong. And anybody else that's listening that's heard you speak or anything like that may have the same observation or perspective on your tactics or your presentation, why are we wrong? Right, like put it on a platform, Pastor Taylor. Why are we wrong?
What, atheists?
Anybody, doesn't matter. Anybody.
Well, I think you're wrong if you shut people out. Like if you don't consider different views or different dynamics or whatnot.
Well, Taylor, I'll tell you
think-
right now. If I wanted to shut you out, you wouldn't be on our channel right now. So you and I've had.
I'm not accusing you personally.
Well, no, I'm just saying, because there's probably people like me that feel the same way, that would still act the same way as I am right now. That would say, I'm going to bring you on and give you a chance to put a voice behind the actions and explain why we see things or experience things the way we do. So my experience in listening to you and hearing you is one thing, but by all means, explain your position, because my perspective is my reality. But you're on our channel right now. What does all that mean? You know, even with the empathetic atheist and now doing the sympathetic theist, to me, you're mocking him.
Well, yeah, that was the intention of that. That's 100. That's the intention of the sympathetic theist. It's just a clear mocking of Justin. That's like the only.
Okay, and my whole thing would be, and I am not going to go down this lane, but just for, I guess, sidebar, is I could probably pull up scripture that talks about not mocking people, right? Yeah, you're mocking.
Yeah, it's like mock the sinners.
Yeah, you have somebody that I respect the hell out of, like Justin, that's trying to do the best that he knows how to do for the world, and you choose to mock him in the name of Christ.
I didn't mock him in the name of Christ.
Well, but you're constantly online talking about Christ and Pastor Taylor, and so whether you want to or not, that's what you're projecting.
I'm projecting a theist that mocks sympathetic atheists drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon on the Tart show.
You're what? Say it again.
Because, like I said, like I've already known Justin. I've already been on Justin's channel. I've already done things with Justin. So
Well,
like,
I have too. That's irrelevant.
right? Justin getting mad and me poking at Justin. If he finds that, oh, you can't poke me, then he thinks he's immune to scrutiny. He's an asshole. I don't think he's like that. I just think it's funny. Like I don't go on Justin's show with a purpose like of shitting on it. I started my own show for the purpose of shitting on Justin's show. You see, that's a different dynamic entirely.
Okay, and where
There's no malice behind it.
My stance, first of all, as a grown ass man, and then as a businessman, and then where I come from, like what's the purpose? Like what's the purpose to do that other than to build your own ego? What was the purpose in that?
It was funny. It's like the guy with the axe and shit and all that fucking imagery. He said, I don't even listen to Oz. It's the same thing. If you can't take a joke, fuck, man. What's the point?
No, it's you're trying to mock. You're trying to mock somebody to get a heads
He's
up.
trying to mock you.
It doesn't help you.
Help me what?
Trying to mock people doesn't help you get anywhere.
What is the goal that you set for me?
What's that?
What was the goal that you had set for me to get somewhere?
I don't have a goal for you. What are you talking about?
Well, then there you go. I don't know what you're talking about. Whether it's not getting me anywhere because I don't have a goal to get to.
Well, no, you already said that you planned out to mock Justin. So that's the difference between you and I.
No, that's what the sympathetic theist is. It's just a clear mock of the empathetic atheist. Like even a toddler could figure that out.
Okay,
that's just one thing I do, and I haven't really done a lot.
Okay, so Taylor, here's what it is. I wanted you to come on the show and have conversations tonight, and you did a great job with Ben and Jump, and I won't deny that you did a great job. But when it comes down to this, like I said, to me, this wasn't about the atheist theist conversation. It was about the impact that certain things have on certain channels, communities, those things, and how are we portraying each other to the community. I don't see the purpose, the process, or the payoff. And a Christian, which you, not me, you have claimed to be, and throwing shade at somebody that's only tried to help you, being Justin, and he's even came on your show to mock them, or I, in my own words, say ridicule them. I would have to question that motive. So that's where I'm at. That's why I brought it up, is because I don't understand it, and you still have not helped me to understand your motive in that as a Christian on what your purpose would be to mock somebody to try to get a leg up. I still don't understand it. So
Well,
I'll let you have one more comment, and then we'll wrap it up.
I don't see the difference in having the guy on the Tart show say he doesn't listen to Tart. He can't hear Tart. I had the sympathetic theist, and then we had Justin say, I want to come on, and I add Justin to talk about the sympathetic theist on the sympathetic theist. I don't see the difference.
I have no idea what you just said.
I know.
So say it again. I have no idea what you meant by that.
I don't see the difference between having, what did he say, the murder shed guy come on the Tart show and say, I don't even listen to Tart. I mute Tart. The same thing as me having a sympathetic theist show with Justin on it complaining about the premise of the show.
Okay, so first of all, you with all due respect, you just spoke out of ignorance because you have no idea what that meant. When he talked about, it wasn't mute Tart, it was a mute Oz. There's actually a T-shirt that's made that's mute Oz, and it's a whole different movement that has nothing to do with our content or anything. It's a joke. It's a running joke.
That's
right?
exactly what the sympathetic theist is.
No, it's not, because you already admitted, Pastor Taylor, that it was to put shade on Justin, his channel. You already said that. The Mute Oz movement is not about throwing shade on Oz. It's a running joke that's been going on for like 3 months now. That makes zero sense.
How is it not a joke to have the empathetic atheist guest on the sympathetic theist show and be mad about the sympathetic? Why is he the sympathetic theist? And talking about it actively on the sympathetic theist show. We're not just sitting there talking shit about Justin.
Look, I'm not going to speak for Justin. I am not going to do that. But what I'm going to do is try to challenge you to reconsider your approach. And if you do or don't, it doesn't matter to me one way or another. You can do you. What makes you happy. My whole goal on having you come on tonight was try to shed some light on the strategy or the direction that you take and how you approach these conversations or the community as a whole. That was my whole point. And I'm always going to stick up for Justin because I believe in Justin and I know his heart in this. And when people start throwing shade, you know what? Yes, I'm going to come up just like I know they're going to come up for me. And you know what, Taylor, you probably have people, and I hope you do have people that if people start throwing shade your way, they're going to come up for air for you. So I hope that happens. And that was my whole point in engaging that is at the end of the day, I want to make sure we have respect across all of our platforms. It doesn't have to get ugly. It doesn't have to get messy. And guess what? We don't all have to like each other. We don't. That doesn't mean I don't like Taylor, just for the record, for everybody listening. Doesn't mean I don't like him. But I'm sure there's other people that will come across that we don't have to like each other, but we can still be productive. We can still be efficient in our community and put the best product forward. So Taylor, other than the channels and everything we talked about, I want to make sure that I give you the last couple sentences before we close off. Is there anything, not questions, it's just anything you want to say to close off.
I want to thank the people like TJUMP. I think that's his name. He usually, I heard he charges and stuff, and I got to talk to him for free. That's pretty cool. And then Ben, and what was his name? Pasta. I want to thank everybody, and I enjoyed tonight's conversation. And yeah, I'm down for whatever. You guys know I like to talk and socialize and shit. So anytime.
Cool. Well, Taylor, appreciate it tonight, man. And if you want to hang out for a minute, we'll drop you off. But guys, this is the Atheist Roundtable, and we had our normally scheduled guest got called into work tonight, and we scheduled the evening as you've seen it and heard it. But go check out the website, tart.live. The scheduling, how you get to be on the roundtable, everything is on there. Merch. Check us out. And until then, we'll see you guys next week, and check us out. Thank you.